Yo, I've been in this hell, I'm alright, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just living like I'm gonna die. But I don't fight.
Welcome to A Man's Guide to the Galaxy, a space where we explore the universe inside the male mind. Not the tough guy version, not the harden up version, the real version. Today we're diving into something that most men never get a chance to talk about. Why we feel the way we do, why we hide it, and how the world shapes the way we react. We're going to explore four big ideas: alphas, betas, and the damage of labels, and how they clash with the theory of adult cognitive development. Why men decompress in the car before walking into the house and the masks we wear. Why we pour time into tasks we don't love, using distractions as survival, and how conformity steals male identity, especially when hobbies like gaming get labelled childish. So let's get into it. Let's start with the whole alpha versus beta thing, a concept that's been pushed into men's culture for decades. Movies, social media, gym culture, even schoolyard hierarchies. But the truth is, the alpha-beta model is not based on real human psychology. It's a misinterpretation of 1940s wolf pack research that original scientists later disproved. Yet men still use these labels. Why? They often offer simple categories in a world that feels complex. They give men a role when they feel directionless. They create a hierarchy that feels predictable. They offer a sense of identity when identity is shaky. The psychological problem is 12 years through adulthood. It says that adults should be capable of abstract reasoning, abstract logic, moral reasoning, and understanding nuance. But alpha-beta thinking is the opposite. It's concrete, it's rigid, it's black and white. It pushes men backwards developmentally, encouraging oversimplified thinking, stereotyping, emotional suppression, moral disengagement. Alphas don't feel. Jesus, we all feel. I feel. I've had a crap day today. I'm still feeling right now as I say this to you guys. There's literature that supports this. Research on gender role strain by Pleck from 1981, that's a good one. It shows that rigid masculine roles cause anxiety, depression, and emotional shutdown, which we all feel time to time. Studies on hegemonic masculinity from Cornell in 1995 show that men feel pressure to perform dominance, even when it contradicts their authentic self. There's also studies that suggest adults should move beyond rigid categories, yet society pushes men back into them. There are arguments against this view. Some of the arguments include hierarchies exist in nature, so they must exist in humans. Men need structure and roles to function. Competition is natural and healthy. These points aren't wrong. Competition is natural. But the issue is when competition becomes identity and when labels become prisons. This is something that hurts men. Men who don't fit alpha traits feel inferior. Men who do fit them feel trapped by expectation. Emotional expression becomes beta. Vulnerability becomes weakness, and growth becomes unmanly. What we can do to help ourselves is replace these labels with traits, not identities. Understand that masculinity is plural, not singular. Recognize that emotional intelligence is strength and not a downgrade. Encourage boys and men to think in abstract, flexible ways, aligning with adult cognitive development. There's another thing, why men decompress in the car. You pull into the driveway, car off, lights off, but you don't get out. You sit there. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, sometimes longer. Why? The mask theory psychologists call this acting, performing emotions you don't feel. Men often wear masks like, everything is fine, I'm in control, I'm not stressed, I can handle it. The car becomes the decompression chamber between the outside world and home. We do this because we want to avoid burdening our families, to switch from work mode to home mode, to hide stress and our sadness. to mentally prepare for responsibilities waiting inside, because men are taught to process alone, not with others. There is literature that supports this. Emotional regulation research shows men are likely to suppress emotions than express them. It's from Goss and John. It's a 2003 publication. The role strain theory shows men feel pressure to appear strong even when overwhelmed. I'm guilty of that. I felt like that today. Masking research shows chronic emotional masking leads to burnout, irritability, and emotional numbness. And I can guarantee most of you listening have felt all this. There are arguments against this. Some say it's just a habit, not emotional suppression. It's a normal transition ritual. Everyone needs a moment of silence. Of course these are valid, but the pattern is overwhelmingly male and overwhelmingly tied to emotional labor. We need to acknowledge the mask instead of pretending it isn't there. Use the car moment intentionally. Breathe, reflect, reset. Share small pieces of your emotional world with someone you trust. Recognize that vulnerability is not a burden, it's a connection. And I'll be honest, I do that. I'll call my partner after work and I'll tell her all the stuff that's happened to me throughout the day. So that way when I get home, she's aware of what's happened, but when I get home, I've said everything I've needed to say and I can enjoy my time at home with her. Another one, why men pour time in the tasks they don't love. This is the distraction problem. Men often invest hours into work they hate, projects they don't care about, chores they don't enjoy, endless scrolling, fixing things that don't need to be fixed. And you're probably asking yourself why. Because distraction feels safer than introspection. There is some psychology behind it. Avoidance coping, which is the avoidance of emotions by staying busy. Cognitive overload, filling the mind so feelings can't surface. I'm guilty of that one. Identity displacement, losing yourself in tasks to avoid confronting who you are. And then masculine role conditioning. A man's value is what he does, not how he feels. There is also literature supporting this that I'll tell you about. Research on avoidant coping styles shows men use distractions more than women. Tamara Sellat, 2002, also a good read. Studies on workaholism show men often use work to escape emotional discomfort. The self-determination theory shows that when men lack autonomy or purpose, they default to tasks that provide structure, even without joy. But there is also arguments against this view. Men simply enjoy being productive. Distraction isn't always unhealthy. Some tasks are necessary, not emotional avoidance. All true. But the pattern becomes harmful when distraction becomes identity. But there are ways to help ourselves. Ask, am I doing this because I want to, or because I'm avoiding something? Reconnect with hobbies that bring joy, not just structure. Allow stillness, even if it feels uncomfortable. Build emotional literacy so feelings aren't so intimidating. I'm going to touch on conformity and how it steals the male identity. The gaming example. Let's talk about gaming because it's one of the clearest examples. A man grows up gaming. It's his escape, it's his joy, it's his world. Then adulthood hits, and society tells him, grow up, that's childish, you should be doing something more productive. Suddenly that thing that once grounded him becomes a source of shame. I've had this happen to me. Not in the relationship I am in now, but previously. Why don't you go mow the lawns? Gaming's just a waste of time. But for me, gaming was the one place where I actually had some piece of control. So the psychology behind it, identity theory. Men lose part of themselves to fit social expectations. The role conflict, the adult man role clashes with the gamer identity. Escapism research, gaming provides control, mastery, and autonomy, things men often lack in real life. and the flow theory. Gaming creates deep engagement that reduces stress. There is literature that supports this. Studies show gaming reduces anxiety, improves cognitive flexibility, and provides social connection. A lot of my friends who I keep in contact with now today, I've met through gaming. Research on adult play shows play is essential for mental health at all ages. And no, I'm not talking about that adult play, I'm talking about gaming. The flow theory. Gaming creates deep engagement that reduces stress. Studies show that gaming reduces a ton of anxiety for men. But in saying that, there are arguments against this view. Gaming can become addictive. Yes, we know that. It can replace real-world responsibilities, only if we let it. And it can be used as avoidance. Also agree. These points are very valid, but the solution isn't shame. It's balance, boundaries, and understanding. How we can actually help ourselves is by reclaiming hobbies without apology. We can set boundaries so hobbies don't replace responsibilities. Recognize that play is not childish, it's human. Build an identity that includes joy, not just duty. These are some of the things that I wanted to explore today. The labels, the masks, the distractions, the identity battles. If there's one message that I really want everyone to take away from this, you're allowed to feel, you're allowed to be complex, you're allowed to be more than the role you were handed. This podcast isn't about fixing men. It's about understanding men and giving men permission to understand themselves. Thank you for joining me on this first journey. There's a whole galaxy left to explore.